Paul, yes. There's some big questions about how Homeland Security doesn't think, yes, that the fraudulent dissolution of marriage doesn't involve any victims, yes, or well, as I mentioned yesterday, I'm gonna want to know who you are. Now, terrorists and other criminals can use marriage fraud as a vehicle, yeah, to enter the United States, and often due to the willingness of U.S. citizens to participate in marriage fraud schemes. Now, I think it's fraudulent, right, that you issue protection orders without any due process to myself, right? You arrest me multiple times and refuse to admit the evidence, yeah. And then you issued a dissolution of marriage where I never got it. Um, these marriage fraud schemes, yeah. What exactly is the marriage fraud scheme of marrying me? Yeah. And then having me have five sons, and then my wife decides, well, I'll just abduct them. Yes. I'll move back to Clallam County, and as long as they pay, yes, she's going to get a dissolution of marriage. Now, I think it's fraudulent of the marriage of Mike Van Proyen. Yes. To use a picture of my sister Susan Bowers in a Rotarian newsletter. Yes. And I think Marilyn could be a victim of marriage fraud where Mike married her because of her innocence. She was somewhat naive of Mike's involvement in the family. Yes. Then there's the question of genetics. Yeah. Are all five biological children Mike's actual sperm and Marilyn's actual ovas? Yes. And then we talked about who are Marilyn's actual parents. Yes. Now I do know Ellen, her mother, Pooch, and I have met her father. Yes. See, before I was married, when Mike and myself were friends, because we did visit quite often when going to Northwest University. Yeah. Mike had invited me to Maryland's biological father's house, where I got to meet Mel. I think that's his name. Yes, yes, yes. But when I look at Ellen and I look at Mel, in fact, I did some work for her deceased grandmother. Yes, in Sequim, Washington, and I looked at her. I think Marilyn might be the genetics of somebody other than her actual parents. I know you'd say I'm crazy, but I've been wanting to do some genetic testing to find out if there's some marriage fraud involved in Marilyn's marriage. Now, what if I found out that Mel and Ellen were not the biological parents of Marilyn? Yes. And their marriage was a fraud, even though it ended up in divorce? Yes. And then Marilyn's biological brothers and sisters, yes, are not her actual biological brothers and sisters. You can appreciate how many different lawsuits could happen. Now, considering, yes, that I do know all of her. Let's see, there's Rachel, Christine, Aaliyah, Timothy, and Garrett, her five biological children. And then she has an adopted daughter that no one talks about. Yes, that was a fraudulent marriage that would make the adoption fraudulent because Mike never intended. Sounds like it's difficult to be that naive, but when you think of this, yes. See, this is a table of contents. A lot of people, early intervention foundation, yeah. The child sexual abuse and exploitation, understanding risk and vulnerability. I'm what you call a vulnerable adult, and it's possible that Marilyn, yes, over the last 7 years has learned a lot about her vulnerabilities as an adult too. Now, there's child sexual abuse, and then there's child exploitation. Now, I know Mike didn't have sex with any of his actual non biological children because of the marriage fraud, but did he actually make any lookalikes of them? Any dogs where he thought as a father, well, obviously I don't have sex with my own children. I have sex with their lookalikes so that I can connect to them right now. I heard that. Well, it, a lot of those in the family, they think, well, as long as I don't have sex with my actual children, I only have sex with their lookalikes, which I could have been screwing my daughters the whole time without them actually knowing it. No, you have to understand how the technology.